You bet.
Yeah. Should they be black or white?
Should just be white.
I have white.
On there.
Good shape.
That's what you say, that.
All right. So let's make it 11:02. Standing for the pledge.
I put those things to my to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a roll call in here. Treasurer Bertrand,
I'm here.
Treasurer Hunt,
Here.
Trustee Detmer,
Here.
Clerk Curran, here. And Timothy, excuse. Okay. You want to handle things here or?
Oh, this is your meeting. I canceled the one.
Well, we have some modifications to the agenda. We had 7 things on here on our agenda, but we're postponing even discussing number 2, number 5, and number 7. We have 4 things left on here. The board position concerning Roscommon County Board of Commissioners selection. We won't do that without Timothy here. Final dissolution of any Lyon Township involvement in the GLUA. That's another Timothy deal. And then Parks and Rec update. Yeah, we'll let Paul deal with that and one of the other things. So what we have left here is the Township Board decision concerning the Higgins Lake Dam Special Assessment District. Motion to spend a determined amount of money on the compost site, compost material organization, a discussion on the ordinance officer, expectations being in place before a hiring process begins. And the last one was a request from the Lyon Township Law Firm from the Lyon Township Board to approve their contacting the HLUA and Camp Cornelia attorneys. Okay, do we need, can I get an approval on those modifications of the agenda?
If I heard you correctly, the one on the Higgins Lake SAD is still included in the agenda?
Yes, that's okay, or is that something Timothy should be?
That-
Okay, let's leave that one off then. We only have 3 things to decide. Yeah, it's another. Right. So we have 3 things to decide, and I'd like to get an approval for the modifications of this agenda. So I'll make the motion to approve the agenda with those modifications. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And see, I don't know if there's any money involved, but nevertheless, we'll still have a roll call vote. Treasurer Hobbs,
Yes.
Supervisor Bertrand,
Yes.
Trustee Detmer,
Yes.
Clerk Curran, yeah. There it is. Okay. I guess we'll start with the agenda. The motion to spend a determined amount of money on the compost site, compost materials organization. So in order to have a discussion on this, we'll have to have a motion. So,
But for the sake of discussion, I'll make a motion that we spend $5,000 on the compost.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion is open.
That was on there because we had a couple different plans that involved money, and I think the whole thing uh, dissipated in the last day or two with a new plan where somebody's supposedly going to come in and pick up all the leaves. Therefore, the moving of the black dirt, which was a priority in order to move the leaves over, can wait till spring. So basically, we are in a position where we shouldn't, there is no motion to spend money. Nothing's happening to spend money.
Did I hear that it was Richard that knew somebody?
Richard got a hold of somebody who I had called twice before, and never got a response, who says they will come in and take all the leads. I'm
Free of charge.
free of charge. I'll, I'm on board when I see that happen.
I'd have to see if to believe it, because this was a big problem before. And now maybe it'll go away, at least till spring to.
If open, and we don't need to rotate them, and if we don't need to rotate them, we don't need to move the black stuff that's in the way of rotating.
What?
So we don't need to spend money, in other words.
Yeah. I like that. Well, I hope it happens. Yeah, too.
Well, then there's no motion to spend the 5,000. There, you had a second, we had a discussion. Shall we withdraw the motion? Or take a vote?
You could take a vote.
Yeah, okay, that's the easy thing. And because 5,000 was mentioned, there's money involved, so it'll be a roll call. Clerk Clark, Clerk Kern, no. Treasurer Hubb,
No.
Supervisor Bertrand,
No.
Trustee Detmer.
No.
That motion failed. All right. On to the discussion of the ordinance officer expectation before the hiring process begins. Did you all get your sheets? All right, so I don't know. We're just having a discussion. There's no motion here. Okay. You can open the, Paul, since it was your sheet, would you like to open it?
Yeah, I put something together because this is bits and pieces of things that have been going on for several months, and I've referenced it. I've talked about it in board meetings. I felt it was important to put it all together and then get it on the record for the video. So I'm just going to read it. Bear with me here. I had been waiting on Richard since interviewing him. That happened last winter. He had worldwide mediation, organizational, and people skills from his company and was a computer and filing systems expert. As far as moving forward with the short-term rental and the septic ordinance, I saw those skills set as 90% of the job, with a built-in 10% for who will not cooperate. 10% was confirmed at a recent Higgins Lake safety meetings by the county prosecutor and the Lyon Township supervisor. There is just a small percentage of people who are not going to cooperate. If the ordinance officer job is done correctly, enforcement, in my opinion, is only about 1/10 of the skill set needed. But Richard's no longer in the cards. Our law firm clearly stated we have flexibility in what we choose to enforce as far as ordinances. It is good to have them on the books in case the need arises, but we are not mandated to enforce anything. The courts are well aware that there may be thousands of examples of violations in the community, and the township cannot be expected to put the time and resources into chasing them all or deal with one resident's partiality or abuse claim. According to the firm, we as a township board need to decide how we want our ordinance officer to do their job. We could direct the ordinance officer to only go after the most egregious violations, only safety violations, violations in high visibility areas, but the board must decide. The important part here is the township board. That includes all 5 of us, in my thinking. First, we need to lay out the parameters of how we want the ordinance officer to operate. Those conversations will certainly bring up some differences of opinion within the board. We've already had several. and votes will settle the differences. Second, understand that all the ordinance officer, we are all the ordinance officer boss. If the board does not like how an ordinance officer is functioning, after the board lays out job expectations, the board can dismiss the ordinance officer. The ordinance officer does a monthly report for the board. The board decides if he is following the board's written expectations and can reward or dismiss as they see fit. So how are we as a board going to determine what skill sets we want to request in an applicant advertisement if we have not hashed out and determined as a board how we want our ordinance officer to function? You realize that some job descriptions state the ordinance officer must enforce all ordinances with no exceptions. I'm a Republican. My thoughts are we don't need another enforcer. We got rid of one of those not too long ago. We should be advertising for mediation, people skills, job organization, and heavy computer skills because those are the skills needed for 90% of the job in relation to septic or short-term rental and septic. We are no longer the mediators of ongoing property disputes, period. So first, we need all the board members involved in discussions. And I say all to determine the ordinance officer job description, then advertise it. I'm saying all because in the past, we've had meetings where we have a quorum and it was already a foregone conclusion that the two people not here, that the three people who were here were going to probably support something. That wasn't a real issue. Sometimes one person missing, if it was determined that they were not going to be in support, but the others were, that's not that big of a deal. In this case, I know Timothy has a lot of strong opinions on this. And I believe that to hold the person accountable, we all need to be involved in those discussions. So for the record, that kind of pulls together about 6 different things that were going on over the last year.
I think that was a very enlightening presentation. I have a few problems with it. It says our law firm clearly stated we have flexibility in what we choose to enforce as far as ordinances. The law firm, fine, they can have their opinion, but I don't think that should bind us in any way. We're not mandated to enforce anything. That's what it says. That's true. But I would like that new ordinance officer, whoever it's going to be, and hoping that he has a good number of these skill sets, will use some common sense in those. But I don't think you should pick and choose. I think you should, at any time a violation comes in, anytime there's an ordinance violation, there has to be investigated. All of them, not just a few. I think they all have to. It might be a one-word answer, frivolous, something like that, and then come back and let the board know what is going on. I agree that all 5 should be here to give an opinion. What I don't think is, I don't think it necessarily need to enforce those violations of the ordinance, but I do think they all need to be investigated. I also don't think this should keep us from advertising right now. To start with, November 20th. November 20th will be 1 year. That'll be the year since we've had a full-time ordinance officer, and we've had you put a lot of strain into this. So many things have come up that you volunteered for a while, and I know you did put in your notice that you will only do it for a couple of weeks, and that was a while ago. But I'm asking you to have some indulgence with that time period and say, would you continue till we get one in there? Would that be a possibility? It's kind of a personal question, but and like I said, I think we can advertise with some of the things to get a pool of candidates. Right now, we have a pool of 1. We have only Bruce, and he said he had applied for the position before, and he was told no. Well, I was very shocked to hear that he was told no because I didn't hear anything about him applying. And that must have been a long time ago, but nevertheless. Okay, that's my 2 cents, and there's more people here to
I'll just say this has gone on long enough, and I think we need to get an ad out there. And later on, I will make a motion to do that, but we need to get somebody in this position as soon as possible. Like I said, it's gone on long enough. And as far as enforcing, if it's an ordinance that's in the books and somebody complains, you absolutely have to follow up on any complaint that comes in. That's just my opinion. That's the way it should be done. I don't want to pick and choose that shows favoritism in my opinion. So no, anybody who's got a complaint that's a violation and needs followed up on how you determine what to do, that comes after, but at least it has to be followed up on.
But we can't even start that until we have somebody.
Well, yes, and I would like to get somebody, let's get an ad out in the paper, however you want to do it, Facebook it, whatever.
Oh, sure.
But I want to get going on this like tomorrow.
No, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that putting restraints on the ordinance officer on what ordinances they can enforce and what ordinances they can't is a mistake. I know cops for a long time, and you guys know when you're driving down the expressway, and if you're driving 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, that's how you're not going to get pulled over. Cops choose what they think needs to be enforced and what they don't need to be enforced. And they have supervisors that make sure that they're doing their jobs and stuff like that. They don't write a ticket for every time they see somebody jaywalking. They don't write every speeding ticket and all those kind of things. But they have to have discretion, and they have to have common sense and wisdom in order to enforce the laws the ordinances that need to be enforced. So I think by putting shackles on them right off the bat, saying you can't enforce this and you can't enforce that, it's a mistake. And I don't think it's legal.
Okay.
I think that is exactly what the board would have to decide to do, is not put shackles on them, leave it up to their discretion. My fear in this, more background that's not in here. There was a file cabinet downstairs full of complaints that were received and no action was taken and no notification. I've been chased around by Jason Trout and a couple other people. They never got an answer on anything. I have probably received almost 150 complaints. 120 of them are resolved with phone calls. When I resolve it with a phone call and they're good and I'm good, I'm not keeping track of that. Or at least I have not. Okay. The other side of the coin being if Hillary was tracking them, but then not answering them, that is certainly within the legal limits of something. My concern is that we talk first. So you want to put an ad in, I get it. You're in a hurry. I'm not. An ad for what? A computer skills specialist with people skills and mediation? No, an ordinance officer.
An ordinance officer, okay, an entry person.
Okay, yes, but that's when you consider what this person is going to have to do with short-term rental and with septic ordinances. Well, let me give you an example. AD called me from Roscommon Township, the ordinance officer there, last week, and had come in and interviewed with the planning commission. In the space of a 15-minute conversation, she mentioned, I'm the enforcer. I write the tickets. I show them my badge. That's it. That's what I don't want to happen in this township. This township deserves somebody who's got a bigger set of people skills than they got ticket writing skills. So I'm open to this. If the 5 of us sit down and you want to hire an enforcer, I'll vote no, and that'll be the end of it. But I do not think that that's what this township wants to have.
It's not an enforcer, it's somebody to follow up on ordinance complaints.
Right. So if in their discretion, we have somebody who realizes that, first of all, we no longer do property disputes. And secondly, if you don't have the people skills to diffuse the situation from the start, you're not going to end up with a situation where everybody's happy.
That's what the interview process is for.
So what do you want to ask for? Only an ordinance officer or somebody who has credible credentials for having done some work in mediation and difficult people.
We're gonna interview them and see where they're at. I don't know. You bring people.
It's a simple question.
An ordinance officer and a cop has to have skills in mediation and all those kind of things. So it's,
Exactly.
so when we're looking for an ordinance officer, we're gonna look for somebody with those skills. We're not looking for somebody
Until you interview was my whole thing.
Advertise for it.
You put that in, you put that in the advertisement.
You want to serious good people,
Yes,
skills, knows how to mediate difficult situations.
put that in the ad and
I'm good with that, but I didn't think that's where you guys were going.
because we talked it out.
I think
Yeah.
it's far off the marketing. I think that's pretty good, but no, we don't want some sheriff that's gonna be showing a badge and doing this.
I don't want to shackle whoever it's going to be. You let them do their job. And if there's issues, they can come to us and say, hey, this is what's going on, and then we can guide them from there. But I don't want to tell the person, no, don't enforce that. No, don't enforce that.
I don't think anybody's saying that. I'm saying that we are the boss. We set the expectations. I'm okay with an ad that crosses all three areas of what they really have to do.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then, but then before we interview people, we need to sit down, 5 of us, and make some decisions.
What decisions do we need to make?
Sounds like we're on the same page too.
Yeah,
Timothy is not here.
we're not going to be held hostage because one guy's not here. This has to go. We've dragged this on and on and on. So let's get this going today.
But I like those points that you made. Those points will serve this person well.
So Timothy is going to be one of the bosses of this person, but you don't care that he's not involved in the conversation. I tried to set this up for Thursday night so they both could. That didn't work. Now we're sitting here without him, and I'm not comfortable with it.
Well, that's up to you, I guess, but
Exactly. So
Putting an ad in, it's something about having a.
I'm talking, if you put an ad in, then we need to schedule a meeting for us to settle out how we want this to go. I can do that. I'm on board with that. The ad and a scheduled meeting for this purpose.
I don't have an issue with it.
That's what we've been dodging. No offense, and anybody here. Every time we talk about this, we get nothing. Let's settle it and have vote. Let's put a motion on the floor to put it on the paper with the wording that was just brought up, and let's move on. Let's get people in here and interview. We need a meeting
We
first.
don't get another meeting.
Yes, we do. And I'll vote no to it unless there's a meeting so that we know what we have agreed to or had votes on before we're interviewing people.
Okay, I'm gonna try this.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion that we put an ad in the paper with the proper wording to hire an ordinance officer ASAP by a certain or November 20th.
Ad will go in by November 20th. Second,
Okay. In the paper. So we need this, if we put it in tomorrow or the next day, it won't go until next Thursday anyways.
As long as it's in by then.
Yes, well, that would give, I would say that'd be ample time for somebody to respond,
I would hope so.
yeah.
If I remember correctly, and this could be wrong, you might have to put it in for 2 weeks. But
Okay.
check on that with
Well,
somebody.
even if we did it, oh geez, I'm sorry, we should have got a second. Steve, did you? Yeah, so the discussion will continue then. We'll get it in as soon as we can with proper wording. I like the words you used for those 4 areas, and I think that's very important. Then we'll set up, if we can set up a discussion between the 5 of us, great, we can do that at the work session.
But the only way that I'm supporting that is if we do set up. The work session is not for. We were kicking that date around, what are we, the second Wednesday,
it's always the same.
Yeah, but the date, I'm looking, I don't have my phone with me.
Let's see, what's that? Six. Somewhere around the sixth, then, eh? Good.
I could live with it if it's before Hungry Fest. So if this goes in the paper by next week,
So the work session's the 12th, Steve?
That's,
That's fine, because that means the board meeting would be the following week.
if it's only 1 week, I have seen where they did them 2 and I don't know why.
Yeah, we had some issues with that.
If it was on the agenda for the work session that we vote, not discuss the expectations for the ordinance officer, I can live with that. I agree with Kevin 100%. We've been talking about this crap for, let's vote.
Get it
Whatever
over
the
with.
majority wants, the majority gets.
I think we're close to what we want.
If
More of us want it.
Timothy is not, well,
Well, let's see.
he has some strong opinions.
Yeah.
We've all heard him already.
I know, that's so surprised.
Okay, you want to repeat the motion, Kevin?
It is the motion to put an ad in the paper by November 20th to hire an ordinance officer.
Doesn't seem to be enough. We were gonna put in computer skills, people skills and that stuff in the ad.
Yeah.
In the ad, okay, we'll finalize that with Paul, the proper wording. So ad in the paper,
If I might ask to modify it, and then that part's fine, and that the board will vote on the expectations of the ordinance officer at our work session. And run them together as a motion.
That's fine.
Sounds good.
yeah, okay. All right, let's have our roll call vote, then at some point, somewhere, this is going to be money. All right, so, Supervisor Bertrand,
He has stated, yes,
as stated, trustee Detmer,
Yes.
Clerk Kern, yes. And Treasurer Hopkins.
Yes.
Well, it looks like that passed. We'll work on that ad. Today, if there's time, we'll get it in by the end of the week, so it goes for next week. All right, that's good. We get some things out of the way.
part you probably knows. It might have even been the last time they hired an ordinance officer, because I interviewed for it, so did Harry, and I think that was a 2 week, there's maybe a mandate that it exists as an ad for 2 weeks.
Idea, just for 2 weeks.
That's not, you haven't. We got that time.
It's great before we hire somebody. Wait, yeah,
So she has to, because we screwed up one of them before where it was 2 weeks and we only paid for one. And then they didn't do the second week and they had stepped over.
oh, so the ad needs to be in for 2 weeks.
Yeah, like, we,
All right, well, happy to hear that passed. All right, the final decision of the ordinance. Okay, request from the Lyon Township Law Firm for the Lyon Township Board to approve their contacting the HLUA and Camp Cornelia attorney.
yeah, I sent him everything.
Mhm.
He looked at it and said, if it's okay, I need to talk to these guys, see what's going on.
We think so. Well, we
Yeah.
got so in discussion anyway, so there's no.
He's just,
Saying,
no, well, it's a formality that we are okay with him.
okay, so we would like a motion then.
Sure, I can make a motion that the board approve our law firm to make contact with Camp Cornelia and the Higgins Lake Utility Authority.
Okay, second,
Second.
okay, discussion.
So what exactly are they contacting them about?
Same things we're looking at, the confusion and the whether a mediation agreement was ever signed. And one of the letters I sent him was from one of the attorneys, and I've read it and it didn't make sense to me. Apparently it might not make sense to him either. It's not to do a ruling for us. He's just trying to understand what's going on.
But I mean, is that mediation is between those two parties, nothing to do with Lyon Township, right?
No, we're not involved in the mediation. I think he's trying to figure out if the mediation ever really happened. There's two stories of it.
Being we're under discussion, is there any hope in your mind that this is gonna end favorably?
I had already said to you guys, township, I don't know that we have a position. We don't have a position.
We do not.
Me personally, I have some opinions I would like to suggest, but not until our law firm is okay with,
Yep.
some understanding of what's really going. So we're not asking them to get involved as much as to make these calls and get a better
Some kind
understanding.
of discovery. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Okay, well, because there'll be a fee associated with this money, so we'll have another roll call vote. Okay. Treasure house.
Do we have an amount of money that this is gonna
He,
be, or an estimate, or?
$100 an hour, and it's whatever percent is in the billing that are,
It's
who makes a phone call.
I struggle with this because I don't know what our involvement is between these two private entities, that's all. I mean, I don't know,
I explained it as best.
why are we getting involved with that? I mean,
We did have a meeting and invite them all here, and everybody agreed we should do that. Now we got all the material that we asked them for, looked at it and went, oh my God. Sent it to
Yes.
the attorney
yeah,
to get some clarification on it. He's saying in order to clarify any of this, I need to talk to those guys.
but what I'm saying is that we can't say, boy, this is horrible what you guys did to your customers.
You can as an individual.
Yeah, but as a township,
We're not gonna say.
we have
We
not
don't
been
have a township position.
so that, I guess that's why I'm questioning why we want to get our attorney involved.
Well, we don't have one yet. I don't know that we ever would. It's just a vote.
I'm gonna say no on that one.
I know, okay. McFerrin, yes. Supervisor Bertrand,
Yes.
trustee Detmer,
Yes.
passes 3-1. Okay. That completes our agenda, which was pretty small. Does the board have any announcements?
Yeah, the grant writing for the ice rink liner was approved. So we ordered it immediately. Should see it in about 3 weeks. The maintenance crew is over helping. Garish maintenance crew put theirs in the beginnings of putting it in. Worked out a deal with them where we'll help them and they'll help us. So that's all good. I shared with Mr. Hops earlier today, there's $6 million in Eagle funds going to be flying around for compost sites. To me, this is the state has been hinting at compost sites that exist will get more use. Other townships may even have to use them. Hearing lots of rumors, but if they started throwing money around, they're serious. So I gave it to Treasurer Hops. I sent it to Amanda, the grant writer. I said, we'll try and come up with as many ideas as we can that seem like they fit for this.
Awesome.
Yeah, and part of that might even be make it bigger. Upgrades, money to grind chips because they don't want us burning anything, even though you can. Possibly grind leaves. Who knows? 6 million is a lot of money. And Parks and Rec is still, I believe we have 4 ongoing grants right now that'll come to fruition over the winter. the fish sculpture. I talked with Newcraft, the metal fabricator and the artist. And we're gonna go with a version that is, what's the proper word? More firmly attached would be the best word. There was some concern that if it swings, it's like a sail. There's only 2 little eye hooks on it. It's 5 feet long. We're gonna go with an internal structure of like a square beam in the inside, 2 of them, to match smaller square beams and attach it to an overhanging thing so the thing is rigid. If it's gonna sit along the shoreline at Phoenix Park, it's gonna get the hell beat out of it with the wind. There's just doesn't seem to be any kind, all the rest of them could move. In our location, that doesn't make any sense, because if it's moving, you know what's gonna happen. It's got wear points, and so he's supposed to give me 3 versions of mounting in a couple of days, and we got a little time. There's no push that we have to do something in time for grant. The grant is there. The extra money, if we need it, is going to be a matter of begging Rotary and Lions Club, so there's no time frame on that. Basically, we need to have it in by the end of April. So it may happen for the Winterfest. We'll see. Everybody agreed, make it the best of them all and make it solid so that it doesn't destroy itself in 2 or 3 years.
It was likely to get stolen too.
Well, yeah, if it's up in the air, then the kids can't climb poles. He made one with the metal mounts that went on a pedestal, but it's in a park where everybody's there. Nobody's gonna screw it. Phoenix, if it ain't up in the air, something's gonna happen. But that's where they want it. Out there for the photo ops and for the water tour. Yeah,
That's a nice announcement about the ice rink for sure. Yeah, that's a good deal. Anything else? Kevin? No?
No,
Steve?
good for me.
No. Right then. Moving on to public comments. And we have 2 of it. Please, come up. Put that here.
Oh, the ordinance officer, I was ordinance officer here for 11 years. And I had to completely change the office when I came in. Friend. In our township, you don't have a whole bunch of kids running around causing trouble. We're a retirement community. So if you base your ordinance officer on plank driven on, make his life a heck of a lot easier. He does have to enforce the ordinances. But you can do a heck of a lot more with education than you can with a ticket. I was there 11 years, I go 14.
Yeah,
good for you.
I mean, I agree. Like, I don't want this guy going out or gal going out looking for
No.
violations.
She's a plank stacked right. You know,
Somebody complains, fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm totally against him driving around looking for.
Time or another, we all agree. We don't want somebody looking for complaints. Somebody
You can follow.
then follow through.
and we do still have a complaint, our municipal infractions. Here. So they can write municipal infractions and the money comes here instead of going. If they write things.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some times you may have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, some of them, the majority, what I dealt with was neighbors hating neighbors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then when we put a halt to property disputes, they complain about what they got in their yard. And again, these are things we need to talk about. One person's blue tarp over a piece of equipment is another person's blight.
Great. Yes.
So again, is it on the side of a highway or is it quarter mile back in the woods? There's a lot of things.
And you can usually narrow it down to just neighbor hate neighbor.
Absolutely. I don't think I've got one that isn't that.
Well, just thought it.
Boy, that's interesting. Thanks for that input.
And then you guys can all be I mean, you're all gonna be a boss, they're gonna work at the request of the board. So it's seems like you can write, it out too. I mean, anybody can write a claim. Just gotta be bounded, you know,
Sign,
absolutely, with contacts and.
We had a number of phone calls and notes that were unsigned and they didn't leave a name. I says, we can't even consider that a violation of
That's
ethics.
too bad.
Doesn't
There's
excite.
signs around here. I just pick up the sign, bring them in the office, call the number. And ask them, where do I send the ticket? They come up, they pick them up, I'll call it. But it.
So, yeah, a couple of the one that I'm currently working on, it's been going on for 6 weeks. Where the person has a complaint about a building inspection. And I walked them through the whole process, and then this is how you do the FOIA. If you do the FOIA, you know, the whole thing, and then crickets. They just want us to do it. And if we're not gonna do it, you know, the civil action is that's your choice.
Just make sure your ordinance officer closes it down, even if it's just talking to someone. Closes it out. That way somebody can't come back later and say you're selectively. Or
Well, there's a ton of them. There were a ton of them that were not closed out. And I don't know if that falls under that we can take no action or not, other than recording it as having happened.
yeah, with no end result.
I
know.
I got a lot of them, just like that. Complaint received.
And that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Big man, a few words? Come on up.
So I wasn't gonna say anything, but I just thought of this, and you said something about a $6 million grant for the,
$6 million is gonna be allocated for grants.
yeah. I'd urge each of you to visit the Lyon Township site. See how it can do. $10. I got some property over there. $10, you get a pass. That's you through the electronic gate. And I think it's important to be able to do that anytime you want to. They close it down in January, February maybe, but you know, I remember back in the days when corrections and my days off rotate. Maybe I'd have Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday for 2 weeks. Finally, it get to be Friday and Saturday for pay period to pay period. Well, trouble was, it didn't always coincide with the leaf issue in the spring and the fall. And I wasn't living up here then, and I'd come up here and maybe my days off were Monday, Tuesday, and I couldn't do anything with a leaf, but that was illegal. And couldn't haul them to the place because it was. And I understand putting the fence around it is expensive, but with some grant money, maybe it'd be feasible. I talked to other boards about the same thing. Well, you know, we got our building back there. Well, yeah, okay, but if I wanted to vandalize the building, I just have somebody drop me off the way and walk. There's no fence back there. Stuff up. But vandals do what they do, but
Yeah.
but that fence, and it's not completely around the area, but you guys, doesn't matter when you go there. This is the other part. I'm not quite sure how they do it. I think they hire things like landscaping or somebody to come and it's always neat as a pin. And it's about 1/10 the size of ours.
Yeah.
It's tiny. Now, on the other hand, it's nice and level. I think it's nice and level. But rarely, when I'm over there, do I see where somebody just pulls in, dumps their leaves. Like, hey man, why would you dump the leaves right in the middle of the parking lot? Once in a while you see that, but not very. So I
I think we're gonna, I think come spring or before spring, we'll have a discussion. There's a lot of options, like leaving it open Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday or whatever the case is. And maybe there is a charge. We charge the residents who use it. As opposed to charging people who don't use it, they shouldn't be penalized for the charge if they don't use it. But the people who do, maybe it's, $25 a year, whatever the number.
That's supposed to be $10 a year. I don't know, but this was probably 10 years ago. I give $10. Still got the fob. I can still get it. Yeah, I can go over there tonight.
Yeah. No, there's some,
That's right.
definitely some options we need to talk about going forward.
The last time I was there, they do have it's not a huge one. They do have a front end load. That makes a big difference. And then I think they got a guy assigned daily.
What they probably do is say, hey, man, go in there and push them push the into the pile. It's always nice, neat, clean. I always wanted to ask one of them guys, what's your budget here? But
They got twice as much money as us.
well, yeah, for sure.
But that does make a case for making a charge. Maybe we'll use some of that charge to pay for the guy that's there.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Now that we've got the trash itself
Yeah,
pays for itself, but it's in with the compost is once it's dragging it down, we have to make that compost site self-sustainable, really. And there's only so many things you can do to do that. So
Blows his leaves across the road.
into the woods. Yeah,
You were watching me?
like me. I always say that's where they came from. That's where they're going back to.
I see that every day in the fall, then the spring, going down to the post office.
I have
They're gonna do some of it.
Well, there's maybe good things coming because the county wants to do shared equipment with a front end loader, a trailer, a sifter. That's one thing that's kind of going on. It's going to end up being with 2 or 3 compost sites, maybe 4. And to me, the handwriting on the wall is if you don't have one in your township, you got to take it over there. Well, that means money. We got room. Garish doesn't, we could expand easily.
A good point to bring up though, John, about that grant money. Thank you.
That's all I got. Thank you. We could get them so they could grind it for us.
Well, that's what I mean, they want it. If they're gonna throw money around. I talked to Ray from Richfield is in on that shared equipment thing. I suspect it's a front end loader, trailer, grinder, sifter.
And that pile right now,
We're giving away.
that pile right now, they want, I think it was $4,500 to come in and grind it. Well, I mean,
Well, like we said, we could burn it, but if Eagle doesn't want us burning, oh my God.
Neither does a foreman.
Right, I mean, that's more impetus to,
Yeah.
Maybe there's a stipend to get it ground up, maybe there's a machine in the works.
Just things to look at.
we'll get an anonymous donor.
It's gonna be big, John. We'll see.
Time to leave.
We've run through our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second it.
All right. And that time is 11:51. Nice meeting, you guys.
You too, thanks.
oh, you gotta do some more.